Okay, so let's try these problems. So first off, I'm going to look at number 6. I'm going to go through my order. I'm going to look for distribution first. No distributive method needed. No like terms. So now I'm just going to follow SAD-MEP. I'm going to go PEMDAS backwards. So first step is subtraction. There is subtraction, so I'm going to subtract 2, which leaves me with 10x equals 30. Okay, then I ask, is there any addition? No addition. Then I go for the next one would be division. Is there any division? Yes, there is. Divide by 10, which gives me x equals 3. And that problem's done, so I don't need to keep going down SAD-MEP. So next step over here, this one's a little bit more complicated because we have to ask ourselves, what am I going to do with this 19 that's out front? Well, anytime you have a number out front that doesn't have a sign next to it, we always assume that that sign is positive. Okay, so if it's out front, just like we would assume that the 17 has a plus sign as well, right? Anything that's out front with no sign in front of it, we're just going to assume is adding, right? So we're actually adding 19. You could think of it as adding 19 and subtracting 4c, or adding 19 to negative 4c, something like that, right? So when I'm going through my order of operations backwards, I notice that I need to subtract first. So I'm going to subtract 19, subtract it from both sides. So this gets canceled, leaving me with negative 4c. Something really important that a lot of people forget is that when you're canceling this out, this negative sign does not belong to the 19. It belongs to the 4. This is minus 4c. This negative sign needs to carry down as well. Whatever the sign is in front of the number, that goes with the number, okay? It doesn't make any sense to carry the 19 with the minus sign that's behind it. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to keep it with the 4, okay? So this becomes negative 2. We're going to divide both sides by negative 4. And we're going to get c equals negative 2/4. Well, the 4 is negative as well. So now I'm going to do some simplifying. So negative divided by negative makes it a positive number. So I'm actually going to get a positive answer here. And then what number goes into 2 and 4? Well, 2 does. So this actually simplifies down to 1/2. Okay? So 1/2 is my answer. All right, let's look at the next one. So now we're looking at some combining like terms. So we don't have any distribution yet. Then we're going to save that for later. So no distributive method, but we have combining like terms. So let's go ahead and combine the like terms first. And notice that the only reason why I'm allowed to combine these is because they're on the same side of the equal sign. They're in the same room, you could think of it. So they're on the same side. So I'm going to put them together first before I start solving. So 1.2 plus 1.1 plus 1.2 is actually 2.3x minus 5.4 equals negative 10. Okay, now I can start solving. So I'm going to do order of operations backwards. I'm going to add the 5.4 to both sides, which leaves me with 2.3x equals negative 10 plus 5.4 actually gives me negative 4.6. Divide both sides by 2.3. And x equals negative 2. Okay. If you're using a calculator, you should see that you get the same answers all the way through here. Although I challenge you to try and do them without a calculator if you can. Okay. For my algebra class, I'm going to say no calculators, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and do the same thing with number 9. First things first, we need to combine like terms. So notice when I'm combining like terms, I'm just treating the equation straightforward. I'm not trying to figure out I need to add to both sides yet. We're not worried about that just yet. We're going to just put these two things together. So 2/3 minus 1/3 makes 1/3 h. Plus 11 equals 8. Okay? Subtract 11 from both sides. I get 1/3 h equals negative 3. Okay, So now for this next step, to get rid of this 1/3, the way that I can think about it is I need to multiply by something that will get rid of the 1/3. What number do I need to multiply by 1/3 to get rid of it? Well, that's the reciprocal, so 3/1. Notice I'm just flipping the fraction around and multiplying by it, okay? So we can do that over here too. Multiply by 3/1, which will change this to -3/1, right? So these 3's cancel each other, the 1's cancel each other. I now have h, which is what I wanted. I wanted h all by itself. -3 times 3 makes -9. And it's -9/1, but I don't need to write that part because I already know that's going to simplify down to -9. So that's the answer for 9. Okay? All right, let's move on to some more notes. So we're going to continue with example C. Now we're actually distributing, okay? So with the distributive method, that's our first step here. So we're going to move the 2 in here. We're going to multiply each thing inside the parentheses by 2. When we do that, we end up with 2 minus 10x plus 4 equals -8. So notice I multiplied the 2 by both things inside and got these numbers. Okay, now I'm asking, are there any like terms? Well, believe it or not, there are like terms. Even though they don't have variables in front of them, the fact that they don't have behind them, the fact that they don't have variables actually makes them like terms. And the fact that they're on the same side of the equal sign makes them like terms. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the two like terms together. And we're just going to take the signs that are in front of them. Remember, if there's no sign in front, it's kind of like there's a plus sign there. Okay, so 2 plus 4 is what we're doing. So we put those two together and we get 6. So these two things go away and we are left with 6 minus 10x equals -8. Okay, and now I'm following SADMEP. So I subtract 6 first. When I subtract the 6, remember that the -10x stays there. We don't get rid of the negative sign. It drops down with it, okay? And then we get -14. Divide both sides by -10. And then this is a case where we have negative divided by negative, so it becomes a positive number. And then I ask, what number goes into both 14 and 10? Well, that's 2. So I'm going to take 2 out of both. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my final answer is 7/5. Okay? So let's do a couple problems together using this method. Okay? So first off, we're going to distribute for number 10. Okay? That gives me 30 minus, that's 48. V plus 12 equals -54. I'm going to go through this kind of quick, so if you need to pause, go ahead and pause. Now I'm combining like terms, right? Okay, so 30 plus 12 is 42 minus 48v equals -54. Okay. Now I'm going through SADMEP backwards. Remember that this is a plus 42 right here, so I'm going to subtract 42. Subtract 42. That leaves me with -48v equals, this ends up being -96. Divide both sides by -48. Okay, which means my answer is v equals, that's 96 is double 48, so I know that's a positive 2. And the reason why it's positive is because it's a negative divided by a negative. Make sure you keep track of your negative signs. Don't drop them out, okay? All right, next one. Let's do 11. Like I said, if you need to pause at any moment, just pause. That's going to be fun for the video. Sorry about that. So if you need to pause at any moment, go ahead and pause, but we're just going to keep going. So 21 times 2 makes 42 minus 21x plus 12x equals 44. Okay? Combine like terms. So here I'm taking the negative out in front of the 21 and the positive out in front of the 12. So 42 gets left alone. And then this ends up being -9x equals 44. Okay? Remember that this is a plus sign out here when there's nothing written. So I'm going to subtract 42. Subtract 42. And now I have negative 9x equals 2. Divide by negative 9. Divide by negative 9. The answer is negative 2/9. And that's as far down as the fraction will go. Okay? All right. Lost my positioning here, but that's okay. All right, so that's all of it. That's all of 1.2.